So this video is going to be a little bit different than ones that we've posted in the past. I was going pretty serious and going pretty hardcore this season with trying to get my hunts on film and trying to get a shot on camera. Me and Tyler were filming each other while we were here at school, while we were hunting public land. But when we go back home, we were kind of solo missions, so I would take the camera myself and try to record things. But on December 20th, when I went to go out, I was trying to find a camera that was not dead and had batteries to film. And my dad offered me his camera, and he did not know when he gave it to me, but the settings on the camera got changed and recorded everything from this night with absolutely no sound. So I'm gonna have to narrate a little bit, kind of like tell you guys what's going on, but try to tell a little bit of a story. It's kind of a bummer. It's kind of our luck, to be honest with you, of trying to film hunts. It seems like it has never worked. Something always goes wrong, whether it's a camera issue or a me issue from one of our public land videos that didn't get shot. But I filmed the hunt, we filmed the recovery, filmed everything, and none of it has sound. The only thing that has sound is the Tacticam that I used to film the actual shot itself. So we'll get into it and hopefully you guys enjoy. So this hunt takes place on December 20th of 2022. The season had been going kind of rough for the whole family, to be honest. No one is really seeing much action. The rut was kind of slow for us. Size really wasn't there. No one had really seen many shooters, and it was it was a rough year for us. But especially for myself, with the mistake that I made and one of our episodes from this season, hunting public, with me and Tyler. I try to put a link for it up in here somewhere. But this was a piece of private that we have a permission for back home. So me and Tyler were back home for Christmas break, and we were you are allowed to bait here in Ohio, so we were taking advantage of it, because we have kind of found out that if you're not baiting, then your neighbor's baiting. And it's unfortunately is kind of how the deer move in the state. So we started baiting ourselves for the winter, with food getting scarce, trying to get the deer onto our property. But this was a spot that we had the nicest deer at the time was showing up on camera. And one thing about him was he was showing up fairly consistent, but he was never showing up in daylight. But he was showing up within the hour before or after daylight. So he was very close. He was bedding close, and I realized, the times that he was showing up. And on December 20th, I decided to go out, and I had a feeling that he's close. So that night I went out with my compound bow, my new Matthews V3X, and I actually took my grandpa's recurve bow as well, because I told myself that if there was a doe, within 15 yards, I was going to try to take a shot at it with that. So I took those both out to the woods. But I got there, it was kind of warm. I don't think the wind was supposed to be the best, but I think it ended up shifting to be in my favor. And I went in that night with full intentions that if I didn't see a deer by a certain time, that I was going to let off just a little kind of rattling sequence. Nothing crazy, just kind of like two smaller bucks kind of sparring a little bit around the food, fighting each other off, because we'd gotten plenty of pictures of smaller bucks sparring. And that was going to be like my plan, to try to get him up and come in a little sooner. So as the night goes on, really not seeing anything, and it was to the point where I was like, man, if I don't see one, I'm gonna have to do something. And I turned the camera on, I spun it towards me, and I was just about to start to rattle with my little bag, and heard and ended up seeing 2 does come in. So I immediately had to try to, put my rattle bag away and get situated for these deer that were coming in. And it was a big doe and a young one with her. And this big doe is kind of one that we have known for a while, for a couple years. We have history with her. She's a very smart doe. She has definitely, I'm not sure who, but she has definitely busted somebody in the stand that we have there, because every time she comes in, she will look up at it. Whether she busts you or not, she always looks up in the direction. And when she came in, she was looking up at me a few times here and there, but was kind of focused on the food and didn't really pay much attention. And as I was kind of filming them, I began to hear something else coming behind them, and they were looking to where they came from. And that's when I saw his rack emerge from the thicket that they came from. And as he came in, he stood in one spot for quite a few minutes, what felt like forever for me, but he ended up going a slightly different path than the does. He came in a little more to the left and came into a water hole next to me. And when he was standing at the water hole, I didn't want the chance of that doe busting me or anything, so I realized that I could squeeze a shot off over a couple limbs and be fine. So I got the camera situated to my left, got it where it needed to be. I took my bow off the hanger, got set, make sure the does weren't looking. I drew back, and when I came to full draw, I went to move my bow to aim and realized it was stuck. And I looked up, and the bow hanger itself was lodged into my cam, and it was pinched between my cam and my limb, and I couldn't move. And at about that time, the does started to get a little antsy, and they began to walk off. And as they walked off, the buck followed them. So as he put his head down and went to move, I knew I had to make a move. So I had to let my bow down just enough to get the tension off my cam on the bow hanger. And when I let it down just a little bit, and then I shimmied it off, pulled it back the rest of the way. And then this is also the part where I was already drawn back, and unfortunately I'm not getting paid to do this stuff. It's more of, entertainment purpose, and just we enjoy doing it. So I wasn't gonna let my bow all the way back down, move the camera, and then draw back again and take the chance of messing it up, especially after I blew my opportunity a little earlier in the year. So I left it back, but luckily I have a Tacticam with me on my bow, and that is the sole reason that I always use the Tacticam, or try my best to have it, because if I can't get the big camera on it, then at least I have something that'll film the shot. So he begins to work over to the right, kind of in front of me to where the pile's at. And luckily he stops in a perfect window between the trees. It's about 30 yards. I set on my pin, and I let her fly.
just smoking. Oh, he just crashed. He just crashed. I just shot him right there. I couldn't get it on camera.
It hits him. It looks perfect. My nocturnal went right through him. It was a clean pass through. And he went busting out of there, following the does. Really didn't know what happened. And I heard him crash. And I don't know if I can't remember if you can hear me say it in the Tacticam video or not, but I said, I'm pretty sure he crashed. But with my past experience, I didn't say it with a whole lot of confidence because, as soon as you say confidently he's down, then those are the ones where, you're tracking him forever. But after I hear him go down, it's all settled down, I am just totally ecstatic, because I really didn't think I was going to get another shot this year after I blew it on public land that I really should have tagged out on a buck that was about the same size. And after I settled down a little bit, I was able to make a couple phone calls, calling Dad, my brothers, my best friend, my girlfriend, just kind of letting everybody know. And to be honest, my brothers, my dad, and my friend really didn't believe me at all. I had to convince them pretty hard to believe me that I actually shot one. I just sent in the group chat a picture of my arrow and my lit knock down to the ground, and I still had to convince them. But luckily they believed me, and Tyler and Brody weren't too far away, and they tore their hanging hunt setups down while I made my way out and was waiting on them too. They actually tore their stuff down and had a truck, and they were heading my way to help me track it and drag it out. Once they finally got there, I immediately went over and greeted them with excitement, and we set off into the woods to try to pick up the blood trail from my arrow and figure out, where this thing went, see if it went down, and get it out. I was shooting a Easton Full Metal Jacket, 340 spine with a 150 grain Magnus Stinger on the front of it. So I had a lot of weight packed into that arrow. I was kind of going with the heavier setup, and I did blow straight through that deer. But one thing I've kind of learned and accepted was the fact that when you shoot a fixed blade, you may not get the biggest blood trails or, just, blood in general. But I know that, and I shoot the heavy stuff now because I think I would rather have a pass through or a better chance that if I make a bad shot, that a shoulder, or any other bone that I hit has a lot less likely chance to stop my arrow, and that'll give me the best shot to, get maximum penetration. So as we're tracking this deer, we soon realized that there's really not much blood. It just drips all the way. And those two were getting pretty nervous because they didn't think They didn't think it went down, but I was pretty sure that I heard the guy go down. Continued to track him and track, and he probably didn't go maybe 80 yards. Shined a flashlight over and saw his rack sticking up off the ground. But we ran over to him. Just totally tickled to death to find the guy and actually get the recovery. And the whole thing was, I was super excited that we were getting to film the whole thing. Lo and behold, that it had absolutely zero sound. But we get to the deer, we had a little interview. I was, talking him through the situation I had a little bit, kind of telling him how excited I was, and just, tickled to death. After we, got pictures and talked about it a little bit, we, we decided that it was time to start doing the dirty work and, get him drug out of the woods. Unfortunately, I actually had a banged up foot. I had a torn loose Frank ligament in my right foot and really shouldn't have been pulling anything for that matter. So those two Tyler and Brody were gracious enough to come out and help track, but more importantly, drag it out of the woods for me. So I was the one kind of filming them drag it out. It wasn't the easiest drag, it's pretty thick in there. But we ended up getting it out in the field, taking a couple breaks. But we ended up finishing it off, getting it to the truck. And I helped them a couple times here and there, lifting it in the truck. Because I felt really bad that I couldn't do anything at all, but I would do the same thing for them if they were in my shoes. So we ended up getting them all loaded up and taking them back home. Got them hung up. Ended up showing Dad, Mom, and Tucker as well. But it was pretty exciting. It was nice because I was pretty down in the dumps after I blew my shot this season. I really didn't think I was going to get another shot. Thought I blew it because just in the past I really don't get that many opportunities, and that's probably true for a lot of folks out there. You really don't get a lot of opportunities throughout the season like other people make it out the seam. A lot of times you may only get 1 to 2 opportunities a season. And if you don't capitalize on it, then it's tough. It's hunting. There's a lot of ups and downs, and that's something you have to take with it. But it's also one thing that we all enjoy about it so much. And I was lucky enough to harvest that deer and and actually capitalize on it compared to my utter failure from earlier in the year. That's still very rough to watch. But one of the big keys, I think that really helped me was just understanding. I mean, he was showing up so close to daylight, and I realized that he had to have been coming from somewhere close, and he was going to show up in daylight eventually. And getting out in the woods and hunting, because like everyone says, you can't shoot him you can't shoot him from the couch. I butchered that, but it was a fun season. It's a wrap here in Ohio. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different than usual, but stick with us for the next season and the summer activities coming up. And we'll try to make some reviews on different products. We're all over the place. So, hope you guys enjoyed. We'll catch you next time.